Legal experts and Iranian-Canadian activists warn that our communities have become a haven for these actors, many of whom exploit asylum claims to remain here.
It's just something else every single day. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today we've got the Liberals getting blasted for allowing the IRGC, the Iranian regime, all their goons and goblins, commanders and terror lords being allowed to seek refuge in Canada. That's right. There's multiple of these people seeking refuge in Canada. With the conflict that's going on, more of them are coming here. More of them are trying to escape the situation over there because they're losing. When we're Mark Carney and the Liberals, it's crickets. Let's jump into this. We have this absolute bombshell news here. Conservative Senator Leo Husakos posting this. IRGC officials are already in Canada. That's right. The Iranian regime has fled to Canada for safety. That's right. The terror lords have come here. Mark Carney not kicking them out so far, living freely on our soil for years with the government's full knowledge. Will PM Carney finally shut the door on agents of this bad regime? I should note before I play this, Donald Trump, it seems that he's going to be bringing America into the mix with Iran. They have a large, very large pow that can go through the soil and take out the bad stuff that they're doing underground there, all the chemical stuff. Trump is giving them 48 hours to give up. If not, America might get involved. Otherwise, Israel might go in there with people and infiltrate to take over the facility that they're building stuff they don't want them to build. They tricked a bunch of the generals to have a meeting, and when they all came together with this meeting, then Israel dropped a thing on them and took them all out at once. So a bunch of the generals are gone. The top leader is still there, and other Iranian regime officials have fled to Canada.
Reflect on it. I mean, if we connect the dots here between how Canada has unraveled since October 7 and what Canadian Jews have faced at home in Toronto, in Montreal, and in other places, it's been maybe one of the worst places in the West to be a Jew. It's competing with London and perhaps Manchester, and that's a tough
bad competition.
Bad competition. But Canadian Jews have, I think they feel that they've been abandoned by their government. They've been abandoned by their law enforcement agencies, and that there's, as he said very correctly in the beginning, there's no political will actually to defend Canada. You know, their flag, when they sing their anthem, it's about that they will defend Canada. They will stand on their guard and defend. They're doing anything but. And they're allowing Palestinians to control the streets, terrorist sympathizers. They're allowing Hamas and Muslim Brotherhood to collect money in Canada. And I'm not very surprised that Iranian regime officials are finding it nice, because Canada is a great and convenient place to live. And if there's no law enforcement and actual protection of the country, then by all means, why not? So it makes sense. Palestinian terrorists, other enemies of the West, and now Iranians as well.
This guy dropping a serious truth bomb. Like, that is the truth of what's going on in our country. Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau have not done anything but allow it to happen. People have been saying this for years. Canada is the safe place for the IRGC members. So this one here, it says hundreds of Ayatollahs people already in Canada. If you're not following this conflict, I don't share it on the channel much, but this is the supreme leader of Iran, the guy they're trying to deal this out with, have him surrender. He's currently hiding in a bunker somewhere. They do a great recap on the situation on Fox News. I can't show most of the footage, so I might just put some beautiful mountain drone footage over top of this.
Fox News alert, the Ayatollah's gone into hiding. He's believed to be holed up inside an underground bunker northeast of the capital. This is a different kind of Iranian hostage crisis. Khomeini can hide, but he can't run. For the past 24 hours, Israel's been attacking the area around his underground lair. But Khomeini, still talking tough, says Iran will not surrender to anyone, and is warning that if America joins the fight and strikes, it'll result in irreparable damage to the United States. Is he bluffing? We don't know. Iranian proxies, which have been severely degraded, are threatening to commit acts of terror against American troops and American ships in the region. And American businesses are now bracing for cyber attacks. Trump says, good luck with that. We won't be bullied.
Iranian officials taking refuge in Canada is not just hearsay. We've got Conservative Senator Leo Husakos saying IRGC officials eyeing Canada as refuge is exactly why foreign agent registry matters. Yeah, so they passed it into law and then they haven't made it. Is there a reason why they haven't made that? As he says, where's the registry Canadians were promised a year ago?
Senator Husakos.
Government leader, as the Islamic Republic of Iran verges on collapse, Canadian security experts are sounding the alarm that regime officials, including members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, may soon attempt to flee and embed themselves in Canada, as others have done before. Despite a 2022 ban on senior Iranian officials entering the country, at least 20 have been identified as living here, with only one deported. Legal experts and Iranian-Canadian activists warn that our communities have become a haven for these actors, many of whom exploit asylum claims to remain here. With no foreign agent registry still in place, government leader, how can Canadians trust that your government is prepared to prevent foreign regime insiders from finding safe havens and safe harbor here in Canada?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question, Senator. This government, working with its allies, as most recently reflected in the meeting of the G7, are very focused on strengthening and enhancing our security in all respects, and that also includes those who may seek to arrive in Canada through different means.
Through different means, so having terror lords in Canada strengthens our security. This is ridiculous. This is the stupidest thing I've heard in my life. We shouldn't allow these terror lords in our country, period. This government is absolutely absurd, and the people who voted for them are even more absurd. Why would you support this? We know the reason why. It's because they're not paying attention. Watch a few clips here and there while the election's happening. They don't really know what's going on.
Senator Husakos.
Senator Gould, tomorrow marks 1 year since Bill C-70 received royal assent. Yet the foreign agent registry still does not exist. It's not in place. This initiative was first introduced by former MP Kenny Chu in 2021 and reintroduced right here after he lost the seat to foreign interference by yours truly. Since then, the government has made repeated promises but delivered no results. So tell us frankly, does the government truly take this threat seriously, or was C-70 merely a public relations exercise? We still have a serious problem.
The government does take the threats to our security seriously, and I certainly will raise these concerns with the minister if I have the opportunity, but my office certainly will follow up.
You guys aren't going to do anything. Let's get real. You created this problem. You want this problem in our country. That's why you're harboring terror lords and not kicking them out. It's why a closed border and deep vetting needed. 5 million visas run out this year. What is the government doing to remove these people? Nothing. That's it. They want them in here. Yes, foreign registry should have been put in place at least 10 years ago. All talk, no action. I mean, the crime in our country is unbelievable. Just on Monday, there was someone who was ended across the street in the park. That's not even a joke. I went for a walk. I went to go to the park and there was police tape. Then I knew immediately what happened because just 35 minutes earlier, I heard a blood-curdling scream. I knew it had something to do with that police tape. I went around the park. I did my normal walk as usual. As I was coming back, there was a police officer there. I talked to the police officer, started telling them what I knew, and they instantly pulled out a notepad. They wanted to know the exact time and all the stuff. I heard a scream. I told them that. They didn't tell me what was going on. I found out today. Somebody was ended. They're calling it a suspicious end. I can't use the D word. With apparent injuries to the person. Somebody was ended in the park across the street from where I live. That's how bad this is now, where there's just murderers running around willy-nilly taking people out. Is anything going to be done about this? No. This is what the Liberals want. So we have a Liberal here admitting how bad the Iranian regime is, yet they've been allowing these people to flood into our country for years.
I rise today to address the escalating war between Iran and Israel. For almost 5 decades, the Iranian regime has repressed its own citizens and exported violence beyond its borders. Yet this odious Iranian regime certainly belongs to the dustbin of history. This military confrontation, however, should be constrained by the principles of international law and not be permitted to devolve into wanton destruction. The citizens of Iran are in a particularly precarious spot. They have endured decade upon decade of brutal repression, and the overwhelming majority detest the theocratic regime in Tehran. Yet, they are caught in the crossfires of a war they are neither responsible for and which is not of their making. Neither is the Iranian regime making any provisions for their safety. That is why Canada should call on all parties to this dispute to exercise maximum restraint and also fully embrace the recently announced diplomatic initiative.
The member for Thornhill.
The Iranian regime is collapsing and its thugs are already eyeing Canada. After 10 years of weak liberal national security laws, this country has become a safe haven for IRGC terrorists. Hundreds live here, they operate here, they fundraise here, they intimidate Canadians here, and they do it all without consequence. I'll ask the minister, how many more have to come to Canada before they put into law the foreign agents or before they introduce the foreign registry they put into law last year. How many?
Honorable Parliamentary Secretary. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is a designated terrorist organization. If there are people here who are connected to that terrorist regime, they are here illegally, which means we're going to find them, we're going to arrest them, and we're going to deport them.
They're not, though. There's a bunch of them here, and they know they're here, and they're not getting rid of them. This is just another lie. $1,000 fine. Stop lying. Next up, we got Pierre Poilievre with a video explaining in detail this whole EV car mandate situation. Once again, this all comes back to Brookfield.
Well, somebody wants to tell you where to go and how to get there. It's the Liberal government's new attempt to ban your gas-powered vehicles. Starting next year, they plan to bring in what's called a zero-emissions vehicle mandate that becomes more and more stringent until it bans gas-powered vehicles altogether. In 2026, the federal government will begin phasing in the mandate, with automotive manufacturers and exporters forced to meet a target of 20% of sales in the, quote, zero-emitting category. That means electric, raising that to 60% by 2030 and 100% by 2035. So in 10 years, gas-powered vehicle sales will be banned altogether. And now, manufacturers and importers that don't meet the quota must buy pricey credits as high as $20,000 a car, a cost that's obviously going to be passed on to consumers. So prices go up, choice goes down, and it's a decree from a government that thinks it knows better than the rest of us and is perfectly willing to make our lives more expensive and difficult to pay for it. And Mark Carney wants to go even further. Back in 2021, in his book Values, he said, quote,
"A host of other fiscal and regulatory policies made by governments can be highly effective in setting out the contours of a net zero economy, including regulations to phase out the sale of new internal combustion vehicles in the next decade."
So if you followed that schedule, they'd be banned altogether by 2031, even faster than the current Liberal government plan.
Mark Carney's been foreshadowing this all along in his book. And as Pierre Poilievre mentioned there, the $20,000 price, the carbon credits that vehicle manufacturers will have to pay, they will pass that down to us. So if, say, Ford runs out of their quota next year, once they get over that quota, if they want to sell a Ford truck that, say, costs $60,000, the next day it's going to be $80,000 because they have to pass that along. And what exactly is that carbon credit? It's this whole carbon credit system. Companies produce these carbon credits. They're not really anything. It's just essentially pulling CO2 out of the air with these expensive machines, and then they get this phony baloney thing that they can sell to someone else, and they would be selling it to Ford or GM or whoever, and then they would just pass that cost along down to us. That's what this whole system is. And guess who makes carbon credits? We already know the answer. It's Brookfield. They have all these different companies here: Entropy Carbon Capture, Sustainium Carbon Capture, Origis Energy. Brookfield is positioned to be selling carbon credits to all these car companies, and the government is going to be forcing companies to buy carbon credits. This is all cyclical system here that is being forced upon us to make money. This is a big scam.
Let's be honest. Canada is not a small, flat, warm country that is easy to get around. It's a vast, cold, resource-producing country where millions of us drive long distances to get to work, feed our families, and haul supplies. And yet the Liberal government wants to ban the technology that works the best, internal combustion engines, and force us all into driving electric vehicles, whether the grid is ready or not, whether the charging network exists or not, or whether we can afford it or not. The CAA found that EVs lose 40% of their battery life in cold weather, and that was tested in just -7 to -15 weather conditions, practically balmy compared to winters in Winnipeg, Thunder Bay, and much of rural Canada. This is not about reducing emissions. It's about imposing elite ideology on the common people.
We should be allowing full choice of all products. But Mark Carney and Brookfield and all these cronies want to force this on us because then they can make money off the back end.
If you want to drive an electric vehicle, great. I'm all for free choice. But despite the hype, they don't work for everyone. They cost about 15 grand more than a gas equivalent, even after government subsidies. And those subsidies, they don't fall from the sky. They come out of your pocket in the form of the taxes that pay for them.
That's just it. We should allow EVs, no problem, but just not subsidize them. Make them like any other product and don't make them cheaper to buy than a normal car.
Now, thanks to the ZEV mandate, car companies will have to make up the fines and costs of compliance by just jacking up the price that you pay when you buy your vehicle. That means we'll pay more even if we don't want or can't use an EV. And let's talk about the grid. Right now, EVs make up just 8 to 10% of new cars in Canada, yet our grid is already stretched. What happens when that number jumps to 100%? Ask Ontario Hydro, BC Hydro, or Hydro-Quebec. how ready they are to charge tens of millions of electric vehicles every single night on top of the growing residential and industrial demand. Spoiler alert, they're not ready. So how do the Liberals plan to bridge the gap? Well, more debt, more taxes, and more unreliability. It's funny, these are the same people that say that you should use less air conditioning in the summer to save money for the grid because it's overwhelmed and over-demanded right now. But then they force you to buy an electric vehicle that will place even more demands on it.
The grid can't handle it right now. We all know it. On top of that, Brookfield builds charging stations for electric vehicles. They don't even have enough. There's not enough charging stations. The grid can't even support the amount of electricity needed, yet they just want to force this through because of money.
Who's this going to hurt? Who's going to pay the price? Well, it's going to be the single mom in Sudbury who drives 30 minutes to drop off her kids, or the tradesman in Kamloops hauling tools in a Ford F-150. It's the senior in Cape Breton who wants to buy a used Corolla for a good price because it runs great and it's affordable to gas and maintain. The people the Liberal elite never think about will pay the highest price. This isn't about the environment. It's about control. They're imposing a top-down command and control scheme designed in boardrooms, not garages. They didn't ask us what we wanted. They dictated. And now we'll pay more to get less. Fewer choices, higher costs, longer wait times, all in the middle of a cost of living crisis. So here's what we Conservatives will do. We will repeal the ZEV mandate, scrap the industrial carbon tax, cancel the Liberal fuel standards that punish us and make our lives more expensive. We'll trust Canadians, you, to make your own choices. And we'll unleash the power of the free market to produce better cars at lower prices that travel longer distances with less fuel. Competition and choice, not bureaucracy and rules, will incentivize businesses to make better products at lower prices because we believe technology should serve people and not the other way around. We'll maximize personal freedom and choice. So you decide. You should be free to decide what you say, what you think, and what you drive. We need a smaller government with bigger citizens. The state should be servant and not master. It's time to bring home control of our lives, our cars, and our choices. It's time to put you back in the driver's seat.
That's just it. We should have full control. We don't need the Liberals telling us how to live our lives, especially when it's going to make things worse. There's no logical reason for them to justify this. What are they going to say? Well, we don't want you to have reliable power because we don't have enough grid infrastructure. The only thing they're leaning on is climate change, and that whole WWF report that came out about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, disproved that. We're already carbon neutral. They have nothing to run on aside from greed. If they came out and said, you know what, we're really greedy, we're trying to increase Brookfield stock value because we're all invested in it, we just really want money, at least they'd be transparent for once. But that's not what they're saying. We all know that's what's happening. This isn't about reducing emissions. It's about imposing elite ideology on the common people. Yep, it all comes down to money. The government mandating I drive a vehicle I don't want, limiting my mobility and forcing personal costs on my home is when I leave Canada. You're the only leader, Pierre Poilievre, with a plan that makes sense and gives us the freedom to choose. I like that. If EVs were so great, affordable, safe, and reliable, they would not need funding. Just like any innovation, they're not there. That's just it. If EVs are able to get 2,000 kilometers on a charge, the infrastructure was bolstered to support everyone charging vehicles, then maybe there would be a different story. But that's not where we are. That's not even close to where we are. And either way, it doesn't matter. Let the people choose. You can still ride a horse today. Horses got phased out. They didn't get banned. You can still ride a horse if you want to ride a horse. If you want to pull a wagon behind it or a cart and do the whole horse and carriage thing, if you want to drive a Ford Model T, you still can. But the Liberals want to take away everything and just give you one option because they make money off of it.